Yeah. Oh, can you fill me in? Let's talk about it.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm alright. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Tar. I was I was going to wear my white EJ tattoo T-shirt to sort of support the brand, and then I thought I better not. I'll wear it in a different one and mention it. And then you've got yours on, so I'm really, really glad that I didn't now.
Yeah, I was going through my wardrobe this morning, like, oh, what I look good on camera. I'm like, I might as well try and plug myself a bit. Should have put my other one that's bigger.
What'll look good on camera? An unironed white T-shirt. My first experience of Zoom.
Yeah, I've not used this before.
It's good. I mean, I've got a subscription for it, so it's cost for like a year, because usually it's only 40 minutes. So
right.
I need to learn how it works, because you can screen share. So if you're telling me about something, I can search it on the internet and bring it up on the screen and stuff. At this moment in time, no, it's not going to happen. So I need to have a little play about with it and figure that sort of stuff out. So I'm surprised you've never thought about doing something like this.
I tend to do stuff like if I need to have a chat with lads from work or something like that, we just do like a 3-way call on Facebook.
Right, but not, I mean like recording stuff and putting it out there, like podcast type stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is me just not thinking people will be that bothered about what I have to say, which is why I'm done.
Yeah, I put a disclaimer out when I started this, and I was just like, it's not for views, it's not for other people, it's just for me to learn stuff, and that's just a way of me saying I don't care if only 10 people watch it. But deep down, you know that you check every morning to see how many views it's. But no, like every time, I've got a few friends who are like creative, not just they're good at one particular thing. You can speak to them about many things, and they always seem to be able to contribute towards a conversation. You're one of them people, and I've been sort of thinking if ever we're not locked down and this went into a studio, it'd be cool to have sort of a couple of us and then one person come in, because like I've found that no matter what the conversation is, you always have the ability to join in. Like you know something about everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah,
I don't know if that's from obviously your job.
Yeah, it could be because of everyone that I talk to and stuff. I meet people from all different walks of life. So
yeah. So how do you become a tattoo artist? Like, I figure, is it like you can't just buy well, I'm guessing some people might just buy a tattoo gun and just start tattooing people.
Yeah, a lot of people do it like that because Amazon and stuff and eBay have started to crack onto it. So now you can get like all cheap machines, like full tattoo kits, that are like a little briefcase with everything in it you need, and people just start having a blast at home. And I've done many cover-ups because of people doing stuff like that. But,
yeah, I've
supposed to do it. Yeah,
I'm one of them.
Number one guy. The way you're supposed to do it is sort of start hanging out in a decent shop and sort of get to know some artists and stuff and show them your drawings, and if you can make up like a solid portfolio to walk in with, like show that you're good at drawing and doing different things, showing techniques, different styles, not just stuck into one box, and then hope that an artist that you respect will give you a chance. And then it's just doing scut work. I would just washing motorbikes, walking dogs. First one in the shop, last one out at the shop, cleaning everything. If bins weren't done, I got walled up and that. But I think my apprenticeship were one of the last old school ones, because it was like a guy from a bike gang that owned the shop, and he was a tattooist, so it was like a proper like biker apprenticeship type thing. So it was wild. So
how long ago
that? About 8 or 9 years, I think.
Wow.
Something like that.
So how difficult is it to transition from sort of pen and pencil on paper to tattoo gun on skin?
I personally found it quite easy, but I think I was just that buzzing to get into it that I was just sort of, giving it everything, if that makes sense. You can either sort of be a bit nervous with it, or you can just jump straight in. But one thing my boss had sort of told me to tattoo my mates at home, which you shouldn't do, but it's happened now. So what I'd do is I'd be at work and stuff, and he'd be like, "Oh, take your stuff home, practice on your mates." So me and my mates would just sit in my room, and the most unhygienic situation when I first started out, but that's where I did a lot of my learning and ended up coming out the other side. But luckily, my dad's had like certain stuff to sterilise things with being a nurse at his work and being diabetic and having needles and stuff in house all the time. So he had certain ways of making sure it was cleaner than it could have been.
And what sort of tattoos were you doing when you first, like the sort of ones you'd do at home?
I was doing proper old school stuff. So when I first got into it, I liked the idea of it, but I didn't actually know much about the industry. So with the typical, what everyone does, they watch Miami Ink and think they know everything about it, like I'm one of the people. But like the only tattooist I'd heard of was a guy called Rich Wells in Leeds. He still tattoos now. And for some reason, like when I was starting out, I was just obsessed with like his style. I just thought his old school stuff were proper cool. So I basically just tried to rip him off for like a year, just doing like proper old school like sailor tattoos and stuff. I
think like gain inspiration is a better way to put it.
Yeah, that's probably a better word. I just wanted to do him. Yeah. Ended up getting a few pieces off him. He did this big, I don't know if you can really see, but he did this big eagle here.
Oh yeah.
It's holding like a Spitfire plane that's exploding. A lot of people think it's a racist tattoo, but it's got a story behind it. And then he did a big moth on the back of my neck that was one of the worst experiences of my life. It was so painful. I wanted to hit him at the end of it.
I feel like you enjoy making other people feel pain, because I was quite open to you just doing whatever you want. And when I realised, like, the bits in between your arms, you seem to put as much of the pattern into the bits that hurt the most as possible.
One thing that I do think is a thing, because, like, as you've been getting more tattoos, you've got, like, worse with the pain. But I really think there's a thing where if you sort of know the person, it's easier for you to complain. Does that make sense? Because like over years we've become mates.
You're just saying I complain. Is this your way of just dropping in the facts that I complain?
Yeah. So it's like when I tattoo my mates, they're all proper, really like moaning about it. They want breaks every 20 minutes.
You can say what you want.
Well, they're all being little bitches. So, but then like people that I don't know, you'll be able to see that they're in pain, but they just sort of get through it. And I'm like that with when I get tattoos, because if I go and get something off, because I tend to get tattooed by Mick Miller in Leeds and Rich Wells, and like I don't know them that well, so I just sort of sit and bear it. But when I get tattooed by like the lads that I work with, as soon as the needle goes in, I'm like, I'm over it. Right. So I think that could be a thing, sort of, as you've been getting tattooed and as we've sort of spoke over years and sort of like become mates, I think that's making you more of a pussy.
But is it true that if you're right-handed, you can take more pain on the right side of your body? Is that a real thing?
I've heard a lot of it said, but I've never seen any science that backs it.
Because you did my right arm first and my left arm second, so maybe that's what it is. It's
it could be. I have heard people say
I'm just clutching at straws here. I'm just trying for anything. And the other thing is, so we met because I worked at Leeds City Council, and I mentioned, I don't know how I got into the conversation about getting a tattoo, and my manager, who's not covered in tattoos, I don't even know if she's got any tattoos, but she's like I don't want to say normal like woman, like a mum and a manager of the council. She's just like, she's not the type who I would go to for a tattoo recommendation, basically. Yeah, she was saying, "Oh, there's a guy in Rawdon, and I think you went to school with a daughter, didn't you?"
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so she was like, "You should go and see him." So then, when I used to work at the Rawdon office once or twice a month, so whenever that was, I'd ring you and book you for 2 hours, and then just take my hour lunch, and then book an hour's holiday, and then come and sit with you for 2 hours. So maybe I only had 2 hours done at a time. Back then, on this arm, because it was just constant. But when hashtag fuck stippling, wow, that was. I think it's the first time I've had to say I can't. Like, you need to stop. Like,
Yeah.
so, like you were, I mean, the way I describe it to people is, if you imagine a kid with a Crayola colouring in like this, and then when you wiped the ink away, there was probably like 12 dots after this, and then you wipe it away and then you go again. So it's like just the repetitive sort of each little bit multiple times. And I was just like, oh, I can't do it. And I think we managed to get like just under a half. It was probably like a third of it done. And I was like, nah. That's the first time I used numbing cream.
Yeah, because I think I got you onto it, didn't I?
Yeah, but I'm a twitcher. I'm a real twitcher. So it just makes me jump. Like, it's not necessarily painful. It's just, you know, when something gets you unexpected.
Yeah.
A bit like that.
The thing is, chest's a really bad area as well. I had my chest done when I was 16, and I remember it being very bad.
Yeah.
So like, I always feel for people when I'm tattooing the chest.
Yeah, that has been the worst. I mean, when we were doing all these dots, there were bits that was a bit nippy, but it's just, like I say to people, it only hurts for the second it's touching you on certain areas, and then that's it, it's done. But then when I see people, I mean, there's somebody that you tattoo that's literally covered, a girl, and when I see her and I just think, how has she sat through all this? And then when I got tattoo numbing cream, I was like, I wonder how many people actually do this, because a lot of people, like I was one of them, you know, I've got a motorbike. If I knew someone had heated grips, I'd be like, what do you mean heated grips? So what sort of a biker are you getting heated grips? And then I lent a bike with heated grips, and I was like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah.
So now my bike has got heated grips and I don't care what anybody says.
That's what I've done it myself with numbing cream, because like the last that you're on about, her herself said try it sometime, so she left me a tube at the shop. I can't remember the first one I used. I think it was something on my chest. I think like one day I was bored, so I numbed up my chest and I tattooed myself, and it was well difficult. And just like literally feeling nothing, I was like, oh, right, this is me now. And I haven't been tattooed without it since, because it's like, well, if I can sit there and not feel out, then yeah.
It's the toxic masculinity thing, isn't it? It's you get called soft if you use numbing cream. But for me, the more I twitch, the longer it takes. The longer it takes, the more it costs, and the more likely it is to go wrong. Because if you think about the stuff that you've done, if I was to twitch during any of those lines, or
exactly.
it sets off a pattern where it's not going to be symmetrical anymore.
Yeah, and it's all going to start to go.
Yeah.
I think like for some stuff, like I have some people that like they want to get numbing cream for like their arm here, or like a little thing here, like stuff like that. No, but I think one thing I tell myself that makes me feel a little bit better is I got so many done before I started using numbing cream, so now I'm allowing myself to do it.
That's how I feel. Like I got both my arms done with nothing, so that's it now.
Yeah, so I've done full sleeves, chest, the start of my, I've got like rows of writing, and got all them done without it. I've got like 2 bits done with it. Back of my neck wasn't numbed, and that were awful. Palm of my hand wasn't numbed, and then like all my legs, none of that were numbed. So now just little bits that I've added to, I use it now because I feel I know it.
So I'm getting your neck is the worst.
Oh yeah, awful. So like right down middle, it's like absolutely fine. You can barely feel it, but just where the muscles are that go up the sides of your neck, as soon as it passes them, just 0 to 50, like it's ridiculous. Proper big change, and I mean, I think it did drill mine a bit because it scabbed so bad. Like it were really big, thick scabs, and I could feel it crack when I moved my neck and stuff.
Oh, really?
So I think he really, really drilled it in.
Well, that's good to know, because that's next for me. You've started one on one side of my shoulder, and it's going to be the same pattern on the other side, but it's going to have something that joins them up at the back.
Mm-hmm. You'll probably be all right with dot work, because this was like proper thick, like saturated, deep, dark, old school stuff. So it really, really drilled it in. But dot work's a lot softer.
Have you ever refused to do a tattoo, apart from the obvious underage or drunk or what have you? Has there been someone who's come to you with something and said, this is what I want, and you've thought, I like on the face or anything like that?
Yeah, I get like a few lads that, you know, they'll be like 18, 19, sort of wanting the first ones, and they'll be asking to start on the hand or the neck or the face or something. And I think half of it is because one thing that I see amongst in the tattoo community is tattooists are proper entitled dickheads, and they're arseholes for people. Like those screenshot conversations they're having with people. So someone will message them saying, "Oh, hey, I want my first tattoo. I'm wanting this on my neck," and they'll reply like, "And why the fuck do you think that you deserve to have something on your neck? You need to have your sleeves done first and stuff like that. I'm not doing it. Get a grip, go somewhere else." And I'm thinking, why are you talking to them like that? Whereas me, I'd be like, that's a bit risky because of your age, because you don't know what you're going to end up wanting to do in future. And I say, like, I didn't touch my neck until I got 26 years old last year when I got it done. And I said, I'd start out with something in a different place so that you can get the idea of what the pain's going to be like, what it's like healing and stuff like that, and then something you can work on and eventually, go on with. But and then they come, then they book in, whereas I could have treated them like a prat, like these other artists do, and then you're not making any money and you look like a dick.
Yeah.
So
it's all about reputation. It's not necessarily just about how good the work is that you do, but it's like a relationship with a tattoo artist is a really weird one because you don't necessarily see each other or speak to each other for like potentially long periods of time, but then you're stuck with them for up to and over 3 hours.
Yeah.
So you could be sat with them for a full day. So you go from this like nothing, no relationship, to them being sort of in this really intimate sort of space.
It's a strange invasive thing as well because like you can sort of not know your artist, but then as soon as you sat in the chair and they're hurting you, it definitely opens up a sort of without sounding like really cliche and a bit Hollywood, but it is a bond that's very different to other stuff. Like you could keep seeing the same person in a coffee shop every day, but like to be able to sit down and let someone hurt you for hours, pay them for it, and trust them enough that it's going to look good. There is something else with that. But yeah, there's a lot of tattooists that are prats about it. I've had some people ask for sort of tattoos that are just a bit distasteful, that just, it might be something that could be looked at as racist. Like it might even just been a joke amongst the mates that, like, to them, it's funny. But I've got to think about because someone wanted a stupid tattoo, like caricature thing of Hitler, like doing something stupid. I can't remember what it was, and like I understood his joke and knew that it wasn't racist. It was more of a joke, like at Hitler,
right,
type of thing. And then I was like, but I've got to think if someone sees it and just sees it as face value, it's a tattoo of Hitler.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, who did that? Oh, EJ. All right, EJ's racist then.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And you've got to be careful with stuff like that. But there's not been a lot that I've refused. I think just some for sort of personal reasons. The one that stuck out, a woman, she'd had 3 miscarriages and 2 stillborns. So she brought me all the dates, like in a list. And we're like, I want all these dates to, like remember them. So she wanted them on her shoulder. And I just said, I'm not doing it. And she was like, oh, why? And she was proper shocked. And I said, because every time someone sees it, they're going to ask what the dates are.
Yeah.
And she was just suddenly like, oh, shit, yeah, actually. And I was like, so every time someone looks at that, you're going to have to keep telling the story that you've gone through all this. And I said, if anything, you need to do something that's going to remember them, but it's going to be tasteful and sort of take it away from it. So I said to her, because you can get like birthstones, birth flowers that represent certain months and stuff. So I did that, and we just did this flowery piece on her back. And then for her, she knows what it is, and each flower represents each child. But other people just go, oh, it's pretty tattoo. So like that's one that I've refused. But yeah, there haven't been too many. Just
I suppose that goes back to what you were just saying about personality. So it wasn't necessarily I refuse to do this, I'll get out of my shop type thing. It was more of and that's something that we've had lots of conversations about when I've come to you with my stuff, and it's sort of have you thought about this through? Is this the sort of thing? And like when I wasn't planning on getting my hand done, but when you put the stencil on, because the stencil was sort of like this length, it went down my fingers, and I was just sat there like, I promised my mum I wouldn't get my hand or my neck done. So we stopped that one there, and I was like, oh, let's just do it. Let's just start this end and work our way back up. But we have had quite a lot of conversations about sort of what I want mine to look like, and I've sort of left you sort of quite open to do what you think would look best. Like every time we've messaged, I've been like, whatever you think. This is your field. You know, I'm all right throwing ideas at you, but and you have called me out on a few of them and said, well, if you look at it this way instead.
Well, that is the thing as well, and more people should do that. Like, you wouldn't, like within the tattoo industry, you wouldn't get someone to come around and do like a plumbing job or something when you know about plumbing, and then say to them like, oh, that pipe, you know, maybe you should use a different pipe, and they know exactly what they're doing. But the thing is with tattoos, you get people that tend to, like, yes, I am doing a service for the client, but a lot of people that can be condescending and very, you know, just sort of bossy, and sort of being like, you're working for me, you do what I want, and it's like, and it's not working like that. It's like, yeah, you're paying me to do something, but I know more than you do, so stop coming at me with certain things, because you'll get people that they'll want like something like that big, and they'll be like, I want a lion fighting a bear with a big tribal thing round. It needs to be stormy with lightning, and then I want like 3 little pixies to represent my guinea pigs that I had as a kid. And you know, there'll just be tons, and like you'll say to them like, that's too much to put into that area, because you're not going to be able to tell what it is. And then over years, it's all going to smudge into each other, and it's just going to look crap. And then they're like, but it's what I want. I'm like, yeah, but it's not going to look good. And they're like, but that's what I want. I'm like, so you want a bad tattoo? And they're like, no, it'll look good. And it's a big, long thing. And, you know, I've had a couple sort of like that where I'm like that's too busy. I won't do that, but I'll do like a simplified version, or we'll have to go bigger. And sometimes they'll say like, oh, yeah, I'll do a simplified one. Other times they'll go to another shop, and then I'll end up seeing it online, and it'll look exactly like I said it was gonna. Yeah. And it just looks like a train wreck.
So what's the worst thing about being a tattoo artist? People saying they want a tattoo and booking in and then not. I've got a few friends who post quite often about being let down either on the day or...
I mean, yeah, that is annoying, but it's sort of part of the territory, because I think a lot of people complain about their jobs when they know what they were getting into, so like that comes with it. It's annoying when you've sort of like set up, and you know, it might be something you're really geared for doing. I think it's when people lie, that's the annoying thing. Like if someone, like, I've had someone message me once, like the day before the tattoo, and they were like, oh, I can't come in, my best mate's cousin's grandma's died. And I was thinking, oh, what's that got to do with you? And I think she felt the need to support her best friend because her best friend's cousin was going through something. And it could have been true. I didn't think it was true. And then, you know, people that are like, oh, I've been called into work last minute, and like, I know that their jobs are 9 to 5, and they'll have messaged me at 3:30 in the morning, and then they'll put a lot of pictures on Facebook of them out in Leeds. And, like, one guy once messaged me and was like, I've sent you another deposit, we'll sort out another date, I'm not coming in because I'm aggressively hungover. And I was just like, cool, fine. Just like, you said what were happening, you owned up to it, you sent another deposit because you knew where he'd fucked up. And then I was like, yeah, not bothered. But I think the annoying thing about tattooing is, so other people's clients sometimes clients try to stir stuff a lot. Like, I've had people sort of come to my shop. So a guy local, tattooist local to me in Yeadon, a guy called Rob. Like, we're mates, we get along. And sometimes people will have a tattoo from him or something, and they'll like say to me, like, what do you think of Rob? And they're like trying to, you know, get on like a bitchy level.
Yeah. And then report back to him.
I don't know whether it's to report back or they sort of feel that that's what tattooists do, and let's have a bit of a bonding session, slagging someone off. And when I'm like, oh yeah, I know he's a good guy, good artist, sometimes like, oh, all right, okay. And I'm just like, it's weird. But then you'll get other people you know, like they swear so much by their tattooists that they will tell other people that a tattooist they've never met is crap.
Yeah.
And like just the bitchiness in it. I went to a coffee shop, and the barista noticed like I had a couple of tattoos and stuff, and they were like, "Oh, nice tattoos. Where'd you get them done?" And I'm like, "I think I just had that hand done." And at the time, I had that done in my own shop by Judd, who worked with us there. And I said, "Oh, I got it done at my shop. I'm up at Rawdon." And he went, "Oh, are you EJ?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." He was like, "Oh, you won't like me then." And I was like, "Hey, what do you mean?" And like, "Oh, I go to blah 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 shop." And I was like, "Oh, so you know me by name, even though we've never met because of stuff they've said about me?"
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, he's proper got it in for you, like says you're crap and blah blah blah. And like, I won't say the name at shop, but like that's just petty. And bearing in mind this guy's like over 40 years old, and he's doing like playground stuff against me, who were at the time like 22, 23 years old. And that's the really crap part about being a tattooist, is it's just proper dog eat dog, and people don't want to help out. So saw an artist on Instagram with so like we've had it a couple of times with your tattoos. It's like if we need to move the stencil, and you try and rub off the stencil, and it's just a mission sometimes. And he used, like, he saw him putting on some stuff, and then he wiped it, and just like that were gone. And so a load of tattooists like, "Oh, what is it?" And they were like, "Oh, I'm going to keep it a secret." It's like, why? It's like other people owning that isn't going to make them better at tattooing than you.
Yeah, it's not going to attract his customers away to other shops, is it?
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, go to EJ, sick at taking stencils off." you know what I mean?
I'd rather be known for being good at putting tattoos on than stencils on than removing them again quick.
Well, yeah. And he ended up messaging me, and we're like, he sent me a picture of it, and we're like, "But don't tell everyone." And I was like, yeah, well, so anyone that asked me, I was like, "Yeah, boss, go buy it." You know, like, should be looking after each other tattooists, but they don't. And that's the hard part, because it should be about making art and everyone loving stuff.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's got it in common.
So when I started doing spoken word about 3 years ago, there's only maybe 2 people in 3 years that I've ever had that feeling about, where it's more about them than it is for anybody else, and it's sort of everything revolves to being their way of doing stuff, regardless what it is. And we're quite lucky in that sense that everyone's just dead supportive. And you just think, if you're doing, not that tattoos are niche, but I think the amount of tattoo shops we've got is quite small. And to think that everyone's sort of fighting against each other. It's like now life experience with funding. Every pot of money, you've got all these organisations fighting to get some. And it's like, you're all trying to achieve the same thing. Why don't you have a group chat and say, let's put something together and let's all get a bit of this? But there's none of that. Everyone's sort of out for their own. It's frustrating. We was talking about this. We've got, what was it, 30 million donated to the NHS. It was something ridiculous.
Was that Captain Tom?
Yeah. You've got people in situations where they don't know where the next wage is coming from, or if they're going to be able to pay the bills in a few months, raising that much money. And it's absolutely amazing. And then in the same instance, a few months ago, you had people buying as much toilet roll as they could with no consideration for anybody else.
Yeah, and they're all old boys going in for the shopping and couldn't buy all.
This is it. Just 2 completely different contrasts of attitude.
I think it's one of them things as well of people tend to care when it's people are good at sort of going like, "Oh, I'm part of that."
Yeah.
You know, like if you put something up about like the stuff that you do, and like, "Oh, we just need a little bit more donations for this massive brilliant thing," you might get like a few of your closest that'll like send something, but other people will read it. But because some old boy in a Zimmer frame that was in the war is doing laps of his garden and that's on the news, you can be like, people are like, "Oh, I want to be part of this big thing."
Yeah.
And that's why people do it, I think.
It came up in my memories not that long ago, and I posted I mean, I contributed towards it, obviously. And in my memories, when I clicked the video, it had millions more views. But it was a sheep stuck in a tire swing. And it was just like it'd swing and then it'd get to where it was. It'd try and stop itself and get out, but the motion of its legs made it swing more. And it just kept doing this. And do you know what? It was funny to watch. I think at the time it had about 5 million views, and now it's over 10. And my post was, I'm trying to do stuff about knife crime. I'll post a video that's going to help kids. You know, watch this. This will help parents look out for things that your kids are doing. It's all this sort of information. Probably get about 10 shares, maybe a few hundred views. And then this sheep in a tire swing is getting sort of 50 million. It's
well, yeah. I think it's one of them, because I said this similarly to my mate the other day. So like, I'll do a tattoo and it'll take, 2 hours prep and then like drawing, designing, stenciling, and then maybe 6 hours to do the tattoo, and I'll be like mega proud of it. I'll put it up, get a few likes, a few messages from a few people saying, yeah, that's it. But then if I put up a picture of my dog, everyone goes mental, they love it, and it's like 100 likes, it's like, oh, it's so cute, a load of comments, stuff like that, and I'm sort of sat like, well, why should I bother? but he very much said it's more relatable to the masses when it's like an animal doing something stupid, than it is to like your own thing. Because let's say, because I did a tattoo raffle thing at the start of this lockdown, and then I thought, right, a lot of people got involved, managed to get like 360 quid or something. And then I thought, right, I'll do another where I don't profit at all. And I said, donate at least a £5 to a charity, and send a screenshot of, your confirmation of donation. And then all them names will get put into a pot, and the winner will get announced. And I haven't announced the winner yet because, like you say, as soon as I did that, it's like, and no one was bothered.
Right.
And it took about a week for like 5 or 6 people to do it. And like all I was saying was like, just give £5 to a charity.
Yeah.
And then tell me you've done it. And I think there were someone tried to, like, they donated something like 2 months ago, and they tried to use that as a thing, and I was like, no. Like that, and they turn around and being like, oh, I gave something to Donkey Sanctuary when I was a kid, so you know what I mean? It's just it's cheeky. And
fair though, your dog and your cat, they should definitely have their own YouTube channel. Some of the stuff you post, I think you must teach them to do some of that stuff. Like your dog is so slack. Like
one of my mates, he came around to it when we moved into this house. My mate Matt, he's got a band, so he came around to help me. And we were in my old flat, and I were unscrewing something, and then I put the screwdriver down, and I tried to do something. I turned around, and I was like, where the fuck's my screwdriver? And then just in the corner, the dog would just stood with it in his mouth, just looking at me. And my mate Matt just went, I always thought this stuff was set up. And he's like, but now I've seen it firsthand. And he's like, this just happens, doesn't it? And I'm like, yeah, this is what I live with. And he thought as well that it was set up, but they're both just dickheads, man.
It's brilliant. Like the videos of your cat just stood like meowing, just eyeballing you, just constantly meowing. And then the way the dog is, they're brilliant. They definitely should have their own sort of. They do look like they're staged.
Yeah, it's weird. Now they're both just idiots. It's ridiculous.
Molly's just she's useless in the sense that she's like a staffy, so she's meant to be hard. But then if you're walking past the garden, she'll be barking at you. If you open the gate and walk in, she throws herself on her back and she just wants you to rub her belly. And it's like you do really well up until that point. She don't do paw. She again throws herself on her back and just puts all 4 of them up and like take your pick. So she's just nuts. She's 14 and she acts like she's a pup. She still types about. Like on a morning, she gets giddy at top of the stairs and she'll go into like pounce, like play mode. You know where the backside's up in there, and she'll be like watching you, and then she just throws herself and she misses the first couple of stairs, and then sort of just runs down like, "What are you doing? Absolute knobhead."
Yeah, my dog. He does alt tricks for treats, but now he kind of knows the drill. So as soon as you say sit, he just starts breakdancing, just doing all of it. So he's like, well, I know that like once I get to the end, I'll get what I want. So he'll be like, sit, and he's just like, and you're like, fuck's sake.
Jesus.
I had him in park over there trying to get him to roll over for a stick, but he won't do a lot of tricks on laminate floor for some reason. I think it's just he don't feel safe on it. So instead of doing roll over, he just started spinning. But now, like, that's confused him. So we were in a park over there, and I'm holding a stick, and I'm saying roll over, and he's literally spinning like that.
What, like running round in a circle like he's chasing his tail?
Yeah. And I've never taught him that. And he's going for it, and I thought, well, I'm not going to throw a stick because he hasn't done what I've asked. Yeah. So then he's going, and then he finally rolls over. I throw a stick, but he made himself that dizzy. He's like, beat it off and fell over. Idiot, man. But yeah, people will gravitate to stuff like that easy because it's more relatable. You haven't got him on my mug of tea, eh?
Oh.
You're not a real dog owner unless you got a mug with your dogs on.
I don't think I have a mug. I've got. I'll tell you what we did do, because she's getting old and we know she's not going to be here forever. We've got a paw print. You know, so the ink's on the opposite side, so you don't get ink on the feet and then run round the house. You get 4 little cards. Trying to do them, she don't like her paws being touched. She hates it. So when we play fighting, I just go to grab her feet, and she's like, teeth her out, and she'll never bite, but she's like, she hates her feet being touched. Trying to do them paw prints, they look nothing like. Do you know those abstract arts where they're like personality tests, where the whole smudgy? Yeah. That's what they look like.
That makes me think. So I don't know if you can see that. Paw. Yeah. So I did that in the bedroom days, and so it was quite gross actually. I sprayed my cat's foot with water, and then made him stand on some stencil stuff, and then put it on my arm, and then just left him to go and do whatever. So there were paw prints everywhere, and then I tattooed it straight on. Realistically, I should have ended up with. We probably made it start coronavirus, to be honest. Doing stuff like that. Yeah. Oh, the good old days of doing dodgy stuff.
So I don't want to go into politics, but do you think if it gets relaxed, it's a good idea this weekend?
I think the idea of it, yeah, but English people will ruin it. I think certain stuff could get away with being opened, and I'm probably only thinking this because this is what I want. But to be able to see, like, because I think if lockdown's been 6 weeks and you've got, so for me, for instance, I've been in my house for 6 weeks, just the odd bits of shopping or walking dog, with no symptoms. So I think people who haven't had symptoms for that long, who've been self-isolating, should be allowed to see each other for like a little bit. You know, like say I could have 1 or 2 of my mates around just to watch some fights on TV or something. I think that would be good, but I think everyone's going to take the piss with whatever they say. So if they say, like, oh, you can see 2 mates, there will be house parties.
Yeah.
Because people just don't take it seriously.
As soon as there's any sort of level of relaxation around the rules, not that people are sticking to it 100% anyway, but it's just going to give everyone an opportunity to just go and do whatever they want and say, oh, we thought that this was allowed now. Like we're terrible at stuff. Like we're the worst at drinking, you know, teenage pregnancies, drugs. Like we just binge on everything. We overdo everything. You know, the whole
I think a lot of it's
panic buying, that sort of stuff.
A lot of it's not strict enough as well. Like I remember when I was coming up, I remember sort of being scared of the police. You know, like you don't do stuff wrong around police. And now, like, you know, you'll get like 12-year-old kids like fucking throwing stuff at police now, and they don't really do it. And like, I think I was one of the last generations where you get a slap off your dad if you did something wrong. But now, like, you're not allowed to do that, and that, you know, I think
that's why it is, because like we were saying, we were more bothered about my mum finding out that we'd done something than getting caught. Like it was that sort of, the police were going to take me home and and that was scary. But everyone's sort of, I know my rights. Everyone's a solicitor now, and they all know their rights, and they all know that you can't do this and I can do this and I've got every right to do this. And I think mobile phones has had a big impact on that. You think back then there was no way, if you got a slap from a copper, how would you ever prove it? And if you did get a slap and they took you home and told your parents, you'd get a slap off them because you've done something to
because
deserve
you got in
it.
that situation. And it's that thing as well, it's like some people might disrespect, like, you know, like standard person to a standard person, and back in the day you'd get a whack for that.
Yeah.
But now if you do that, you're going to get arrested, and there's all a weird thing around it, and I think people are just going to take the piss. I think if they lift any sort of restriction, it's going to get worse. Because me walking dog as well, when I first started walking him at the start of lockdown, and also lockdown, he didn't even say the words lockdown, he pussyfooted around it so that people could still take the piss. They were like, I'd see one car on the street, and then I'd, like, because I've got a Springer, he needs like a bit of a decent walk, and because I've been bored, I've been walking for like 10, 15k a day, and I'd be in the middle of nowhere, and I'd bump into like maybe one or two dog walkers who also had like energetic dogs, and then I did the same walk the other day, and I must have walked past, like with no exaggeration, I must have walked past 100 people.
Oh wow!
Because people are just starting to take the piss now, and the roads are like ridiculous. It took me like 2 or 3 minutes to cross a road the other day, and like, I know that sounds like I'm being really dramatic, but when the country's supposed to be locked down, I should be able to walk in the middle of the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the panic now is mental health. So they're saying there's a lot of people struggling with mental health and the potential long-term effects of that. But for me, it's like CPR. You break someone's ribs in CPR, you don't get done for assault or what have you, because that person's dead. So as long as you bring them back to life, any damage you do is better than them being dead. And with this, we're sort of like, yes, mental health is massive and mental health is important, but the alternate to potential long-term mental health is death. You know, if we're in lockdown because of how deadly this virus is, surely that should be the most important thing than finance, you know, getting people back to work. It is terrible what's going on, but we've never been in this situation before. And like I say, we either go out and spend time with people that we shouldn't be spending time with. And I genuinely think that if we relax a lockdown now, then we're going to miss Christmas, because it's going to get worse, and then we're going to be in lockdown again, and then we're all going to be in lockdown over Christmas. So rather than people just sort of giving it the few weeks or even the couple of months, like even if we stayed locked down until September when schools go back, at least that's more likely to guarantee us the end of, like, the longer we leave it, the higher the percentage of us not having another lockdown is, basically.
I think it's thing as well is people, like, I really find people always want to play the victim all the time, and everyone is having to go through this. And I'm not saying that like certain things should be disregarded, but people need to realise everyone's in the same boat. Like I struggle with mental health problems myself, and I've had a couple of days in this lockdown that have been like really dark for me. But everyone's in this, and I know why I'm going through it. And yeah, I get a little bit wonky here or there, and then I think, right, well, I'll have some drinks. So I've had the odd day where I've sort of boozed a bit too much to sort of try and get through it, which isn't the right thing to do, but that's sort of what I'm doing at this time. And but everyone's going through it. So I think it's when people are like, I need to get back to work. It's like, so do I. so does every man on the street. Like, shut up.
Yeah, it's going to be depressing to see when things do start to open, which businesses don't open again. Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of that, and I think that's really upsetting. And one thing I'm personally doing to try and help with that is I'm going like full independent after this. So like butchers for my food, markets for veg, and then that way, you know, because you're not walking past a lot of chocolate as well, so I'll probably stop being so fat. And you know, like only Morrison's for, or like even if I can get to like just a little off license or something, but for, you know, for like toilet roll, toothpaste, stuff like that, and just try and put money in the pockets of independent people. And the stuff's always better anyway. Like I get eggs from this woman that's got a trailer up road that comes from a farm, and it's the tiniest bit more expensive than Morrison's, but the taste 10 times better. And I think everyone should just be helping the independent people anyway.
I try to do that as much as I can. Like I get my contact lenses from a family-run opticians just up the road, and they went through a stage where there was always closed. I don't know if it was staffing problems, but they have a shop in Beeston and a shop in Murfield, and it was sort of I could get them delivered to my house cheaper. I don't have to go out; they'll get delivered here. I don't have to worry about anything. They'll just keep sending them every 2 weeks, no problem. But I've stuck with them, and a few times I've had to go to Murfield to pick them up. But on what day are we on now? Sunday. So on Friday, I rung and just sort of said I need to get some contact lenses. I've only got 2 days left. So the guy drove from Murfield to Beeston, opened the shop. I mean, it was dodgy. I had to go around back. He didn't open like the shop. He opened the back door. I've never bought contact lenses out the back of a shop before. But he did that. You know, he came all the way over just to get me 30 quid's worth of contact lenses. He came over for. So it's important to keep sort of supporting that sort of stuff, I think. You mentioned your mates coming around for a fight. Is that MMA? Is that something you get them together and watch usually? Yeah, because
the UFC were on last night because they've managed to do everything they can to sort of swerve around the COVID things.
What, they're still having fights?
Yeah, they managed to get past. I think it were in Orlando. Their athletic commission allowed them to do it, and like no crowds are out.
Yeah.
And just proper limited staff. But one of the fights got pulled like the day before because one of them tested positive for COVID.
One of the fighters or one of the team?
One of the fighters and both of his cornermen. And I mean, I like fighting, like martial arts and stuff. But I think it were a little bit stupid of them to do it, to be honest. They were thinking a little bit too much about the money than sort of saving.
Well, Formula One, they turned up in Australia, ready to race, first race at season. And I love Formula One. And I know that it's just cars going around the track. But when you get into it, it's like fighting. You because you train and you're into MMA, you'll watch a fight in a different way to somebody who just does the pay-per-views once or twice a year.
Yeah,
you know the internet experts who jump on and give their
and they're like, oh, they should have done that instead. Like with F1, like, well, they should have taken that corner better.
Yeah.
Like, oh, all right.
Yeah. So it's like that, and they all turned up, and then one of the pit crew tested positive, so it's just been cancelled ever since. So they're looking at closed races, but again, some of the teams, massive team like McLaren, who's been in it for almost since the beginning, they could potentially be going out because a lot of their income comes from ticket sales. So they get a percentage of the ticket sales from every race as part of their contract, and that's how they sort of stay competitive. So I mean, they might not be able to
come back.
No, well, it might be that somebody has to invest in them and buy them out. I know.
Not as bad as that.
Yeah, but Joe Rogan was talking about a list. I think it was in LA of things you're allowed to do. And there were things like volleyball and baseball, like throwing a ball between two people, not obviously an actual game of baseball. So like me and you could go to a park and throw a baseball.
Right.
He's sort of saying, if my skin touches that ball and I throw it to you and your skin touches that ball, that's just the same as a handshake.
Yeah.
Same with volleyball.
I'm sure it can live on surfaces for like 5 to 9 days.
Yeah.
And it uses moisture to sort of live. So like if there's something outside and then your skin makes it not dry anymore and then it's on your skin. So anything with contact. Like volleyball, you could literally just slap it like COVID hand straight at you, and then as soon as you touch it, you've got it.
Sounds like a finishing move on Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, COVID ball. COVID slap.
Oh,
here he is. See?
just
It's
on
not
cue.
set up.
Oh, God. That's brilliant.
Oh, God.
So when you mentioned mental health, so that's sort of your experience over this, but what about just in general? Like if we're not in lockdown?
What my own?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of a bit up and down. Like I guess a lot of people have. Sort of like the anxiety part, and then just random lulls of just sort of, just being completely miserable.
Yeah.
And sort of try to find ways to get through that. But I find a lot of creative types can be like that. Like I could feel every emotion from waking up till like to dinner time, and it's only been like a couple of hours. Go away, man. Yeah, it can be a struggle. I think for me, a lot of it's sort of keeping occupied and sort of being true to myself about sort of general health. Like I sort of go by the consume shit, feel shit thing.
Yeah.
And try to make sure I take in sort of decent, just like energies from everything. So like, don't watch stuff that's just depressing. Don't. I don't just sit and listen to miserable music constantly and stuff like that.
Like past your emo stage, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The good old days. No, I was more of a goth, man.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
One of the girls I know, she wanted to come on and talk about how exercise is one of the least prescribed things for mental health.
It is 100%, and like I found, in fact, a status came up on my memories on Facebook the other day where I'd discovered jiu-jitsu like 3 or 4 years ago, and I just like it just consumed my life. It was just like, bosh, this is what I do, this is what I'm doing, and I went from sort of basically being an alcoholic, depressive, just waste of space. And then started jiu-jitsu, started to feel brilliant, started to get stronger. Obviously, you can't do it when you're hungover, so it made me not want to drink. And then you're at the gym in the evening, so I stopped boozing as much. And I felt brilliant, and it was like health is wealth type of thing. And it were incredible. And there's a load of jiu-jitsu players and stuff that have come from really dodgy places, like some that have like been in prison for nasty stuff, some people that need an outlet because they've been, like there's quite a few army boys in jiu-jitsu.
And what do you think it is? Do you think it's the control element? So it's sort of like getting your anger out, but in a controlled way?
Yeah, I think it could be that, but I think it's also a thing of your gym being a team. So like you're part of something, right. And I think that's validating for anyone. And I always say that like getting out and doing exercise like does so much for your mental health. Like it once so long ago I had like a bit of a mental blip, as I call it. And I were at home and I was just about to open a beer, and my wife noticed that, like, she can tell my mood. And she was like, "Oh, go to the gym instead." And I was like, "Nah, I'm not up for it." And I think there was something wrong with my car, and I thought, like, it probably wouldn't make it to gyms. It's an old banger. And I was like, I don't think the car will make it. I'm not in the mood, can't be bothered. And she just went upstairs, put my gear and stuff in the gym bag, came down and like, right, come on. And she took me and she sat in the gym, just played on her phone and sort of watched me sparring a bit, and then I went and just like proper went for it, and I tried to have a few fights with a few of the higher level people just so I knew I was going to get like beaten, and I had to work really hard, and I came out of it and just felt incredible. And then like we got into the car and I was just like, cheers for that. Like she knew that was going to make it all better, and I thought like, now this beer will sort it out. And yeah, more people need to do it. And I know loads of people that are like yoga people, and they're obsessed with it, and they've all had their own issues with like mental health, and that cures it for them. And well, not cures it, but at least
suppresses it for. See, for me, I like if I'm in a relationship that ends, like I can either be really upset about it and mope about and not get much done, or what I tend to do is I tend to make myself really busy, so I don't have time to think about it. And then if however long it takes for me to not think about that relationship is how long I keep myself busy for. So I never go through that sort of, but then it's not like once in a few months down the line when I'm not busy anymore, I start thinking, oh, I need to do this. And it's out of my thought process, if that makes sense. Yeah. Sometimes it's a couple of weeks, sometimes it's a lot longer. Sort of the the place I'm at now. Me and Chantel broke up.
All right.
And it's just sort of when at start of March when I couldn't walk and stuff, it was horrible. Sort of been laid up and having sort of everything going on in my head. But then when this project came up and I knew I could be busy, so I've been out sort of making these packs. We're doing these 700 activity packs for kids in local community and stuff, and it just came at the right time, you know, just to sort of keep me focused on something. But then I was talking to somebody about my YouTube channel from before. So I used to make my own videos, and I used to be in such a rush to do it. I'd memorize a spoken word piece, and then I'd want to get it on this YouTube channel. And some of the videos, when I look back, I just think, oh gosh, I probably should have took a bit more time with that. But I've been the same with this podcast thing. And I was just sort of like, yesterday, I wanted something to go along with an image just because I was downloading the first video. So I needed something at the start, and I was in such a rush to do it. And I just thought, I'm going back to that thing where, because I'm trying to keep my head busy, I'm obsessing over little things.
It's easy to do.
Yeah.
I think the thing is as well, whenever there's something that sort of affects you negatively in life, like whether it be a breakup or whether it be like, you know, you look back at them videos and thought, oh God, all of it's learning. And I think being wrong, being let down, being, just fucking up, all of that is important, I think. And a lot of people proper look at it as like, oh no, me, like type of thing. But being wrong is one of the best places to be, because then you learn.
Yeah. I used to self-sabotage. If things were going well, like I'd always, mainly in relationships, like when I was using, so before, like over, I don't know, I looked at my watch like it was a certain time. But like anything from 7 years backwards, like things would be going well, or they'd come to my house and meet my mum, and my mum would really like him, and I just think, oh.
Yeah, it's not working.
I'd make issues or problems, or it's weird. Like I think, and because I was in that self-pity thing where, oh, everything always goes wrong for me, I wish I'd get a break, and then I get a break, I'm like, oh shit, what do I do now? Quick, make it go wrong. So I want to just panic and do something stupid to make it all sort of fall down, and then say, see, I told you, it always goes wrong for me.
It's like a comfort thing for I think that your mind does it, where it's like, oh well, I know, you know, I've had stuff go wrong, and people, like, you know, you dwell on the bad things, so you just wait for the next thing to go wrong. So sometimes it's more comfortable to be in a fucking up thing than it is to be happy. Like sometimes people say to me, they're like, oh, you're right, and like my mind goes, find something wrong.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no, yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah.
And like, I know people. There's someone I know, and every single time you ask them how they are, they will never say good, ever.
Right.
And
is that for attention or through honesty?
I think a little bit of both. But I always go by a thing of like, are you doing something to make it better? If you're not, then I don't care. Type of thing.
Yes. One thing I didn't talk about on the first podcast was, because it was around addiction and recovery, and I know that people in recovery are going to see that, because the idea of doing that one was to share it in some recovery Facebook pages. I'm not going to be doing that with this, but I stopped going to NA meetings, and then every now and then so basically I've always been in recovery, and I've not relapsed from the day I said I'm never going to drink or take drugs again. So that's a real thing. But when I'm going to meetings, NA meetings are very much about how much of a knobhead you used to be, and you get reminded of it all the time. And when I started doing the life experience stuff, I'm going into schools and I'm telling my story. I'm around other people telling their story, so it's a constant reminder. And I just sort of thought, I'm doubling up on this sort of stuff, so I just backed off a bit. And I'd go to a meeting, and I used to get home leaves in 2014. So there were people at meetings in 2014, and I'll see them in a meeting now, this year, or like the back end of last year, where if someone new comes and I take them to a meeting, and they're just sat saying the same shit, like 5 years, and it's the same issues and the same problems. And I just think, do you know what? It's not working for you. You need to look for something different, or try something new, because you're not happy. You're miserable, and this is 5 years later, and it's exactly
need to change it up. People do need to I think everyone has a thing of like the ideal thing of someone appearing in their life and just making everything better.
Yeah.
And I think that'll partly be why a lot of relationships fall through as well, because they're just expecting their other half to be like their saving grace. But you've got to do stuff for yourself. Like I've been with my lass for 10 years coming September.
Wow.
And the start.
What are you now? 27.
Yeah, 27 now.
27 now. Right.
So got together quite young.
Wait a minute. How old is she?
I don't know. I think she's 29.
Oh, that's all right. I'm just making sure she wasn't too young when you first met, that's all.
No, she's older than me. Yeah, and there was stuff like, when I was young, when I was like 18, I thought I was the shit. I was like, I'm 18 now. I'm a man.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I want. So like I was just, like partying all the time, boozing loads, and just hanging out with people that weren't good for me, and just getting into shit, and sort of mental health were a little bit dodgy then, and I didn't do all about it. And then I think, that made me and her argue a bit, and then I started to sort of think about it a bit through being told by a few people, and it's like, all right, I need to do something about it. So like I've had, every now and then I like to touch base and have like a sort of stint of counselling or therapy, because like I started again about like just before COVID. I'd done like 3 or 4 sessions, and I think like a few of my mates found out that I was going back, so they're like concerned, and they're like, "Oh, you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm feeling like pretty good," but I think like people save money for when it goes bad.
Yeah.
People will like buy, even if it's something as stupid as like a coat for when the weather's bad. But I find with mental health, people don't like pre-prepare.
Yeah.
So for me, touching base every now and then, there might be something that, like, the reason I'm getting wound up in the morning could be something that therapist will get out, and then I'm like, all right, cool, and then I'm buzzing and it's done with. So I think it is important to sort of think of stuff like that as well, and touch base with yourself properly, and do stuff that's going to help you, instead of just like, everyone's got stuff, everyone's got problems and stuff like that. Like, one thing that I always say about you when I'm talking to my mates and stuff is, if I explained your past and then they met you, they thought I was lying.
Yeah.
Because you're nice, you're bubbly, you're not a dick, you're not a victim.
Yeah.
That type of thing, and like, you've got stories, and like, you've seen and done some stuff that a lot of people won't be able to get through, but you're not just curled up like, me.
Yeah, I think that's because my past is positive, even though it's a negative at the time. So when I came home from prison in 2014, my first job was with Leeds City Council, and when I had my interview, they did the basic interview. Give me an example of a time when you've worked as part of a team. So it was sort of, well, when I was in HMP Wealdstone, I worked in education, I did this, and this. Give me a time where you've gone out of your way to help someone. Well, when I was in HMP Kirkham, on my application form, it said I'd been to prison. If I don't talk about it, or if I've still got shame, if that prison experience didn't change the way my life was before I went, it would be a negative, and I would be shying away from it. But I went from spending £300 to £400 a day on drugs and using from waking up to going back to bed, to nothing, to absolutely nothing, coming out with a 1.5 year clean time through prison. So it's the best thing that could have happened, and it's a massive positive. Literally, the company I run now is because of those 10 years. So even though at the time it was a horrible 10 years, it's the best thing that could have happened. We spoke about this last time, and it was sort of, my life would have been crap. I would have had a really good job and a really sort of nice house and nice car, but I would have had no experiences to talk about. I would have had nothing to come on a video and say, this is stuff that I've been through. I would never have gone to a school and said, my name's Phil and this is my story, Because it would have just been, I get up every morning and I put my suit on and I go to work and I come home and I have something to eat and I go to bed.
Yeah, the idea of that life terrifies me.
Yeah, so it's weird how a lot of the most interesting people I've ever met have all been through some hectic stuff, and it's sort of that appreciation of life, I think, afterwards.
It's character building as well, but it's also like how you personally look at it, because someone else could have been like, why did no one come and help me when I was doing drugs?
Yeah.
Why did no one do this, and why did no one do that? But you went, fucked up, and then changed it. And I think that's the thing, people don't want to learn, people don't want to change, and that's where it becomes a problem. So people are too much victims. Like one of my mates, he said he's drinking a bit too much through this COVID thing, so he stopped, and he hasn't had a drink for a week. And he said, like, once it comes to the weekend, I'll have a couple, but instead of like boozing every day. It's like, well, good, you are making a change for yourself then.
Yeah.
You go.
There's people who say the problems out loud in sort of hope that somebody else comes to them with a solution, and then there's people who just think, oh shit, this is a problem, I need to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it took me a while to get there. Like, I'm not saying that I've always had this mentality. When I was younger, I was very much like people that are just like, me type of thing.
I think we've all had stages of our lives when, like, usually when loads of things start to go wrong and you just think, it's just always me. I think all of us have said that at some point. How is it always me? Or if there was, if I had any luck, what's the thing about no luck? Or there's a saying in there about, if I had any luck at all, it'd be bad luck, or something along those lines.
No, I don't think I've heard that.
And everyone sort of goes along the same path at some point where everything just feels like it's going to shit.
But also we need them to learn as well.
Yeah, it has. It's massively helped me. So the fighting sort of, is that something you're still doing?
Yeah, not so.
You hurt your ankle, didn't you?
Yeah, I got in an injury. So I'd started at this new gym. I've been there about a month, and did like a 2-hour kickboxing session, and I had like proper jelly legs at the end of it. And it's like top floor of a warehouse in Bradford. So I'm walking down these stairs and my legs are just wobbling everywhere, and I just misjudged a step and landed on the side of my foot and just basically blew every ligament in my ankle. And I heard it.
Just been training how long? How long was the session?
2 hours.
2 hours throwing other men about, wrestling, grappling, I'm guessing ankle
kicking,
locks,
punching, everything.
Yeah. And then on the steps on your way out.
But the thing is, I hadn't left the building yet, so I can still say I did it at the gym. So I'm like, training last night, and I did my ankle at the gym, and I'm not lying there. And I heard it pop literally like a balloon. I've heard stories of people saying you can hear ligaments break.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, surely not. And yeah, as soon as I heard like a pop, or like, that's what people say, that was my ligament. And I was on floor all heaped up, like, and I was like, right, it can't be that bad, stand up. So I stood up, put all my weight on it, and just fell again. And we're just like, oh no, I've done something here. And a guy coming downstairs opened up my shoe, and it was just like, just looked like my ankle was like a calzone. Just like weird colours and just massive, and I was like, oh no.
Oh god. Yeah, I jumped off a motorbike when I was 18, and the idea was to sort of pop off the back of the bike. I was on my way to a football match that I was late for, so I had boots, all kit on, and all lads are on pitch waiting. So the idea was to pop off and just be like, ta-da! And the bike were going faster than I thought it was, and as soon as I landed, my knee just twisted, and the noise like that just swollen up straight away.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm watching rugby or football, mainly rugby, and they're in a tackle and you can see the leg sort of either bend the other way or a little bit, when it just sort of like goes, whoop, that one right.
Yeah.
I get that fit. It makes my head go like this, and I can hear the noise, and it sort of,
I know exactly what you
goes
mean.
right through my teeth. It's awful.
Yeah, I have it with so in jiu-jitsu there's a move called a toe hold. So it's sort of hard to explain, but you basically end up like your little finger goes against like over the top of the foot,
Yeah.
and then the way your wrists are, it basically constricts the ankle, and then you pull, and it basically does what I did to myself. So you can just snap people's feet with it. And once I'd sort of come back and had rehab on it and sort of did my best to look after it, like I just said, like, don't do up to that foot, like it's been injured and stuff. But the person I was with were like really well, like they were experienced. So what they were doing is they were getting to a submission, sort of like holding it as if like, oh yeah, I could do this now.
Yeah,
and then just letting go and moving to the next thing. And it literally grabbed my foot, didn't do it, didn't hurt me. But just the thought, I was like, yeah, as soon as he touched it, I was like, nah. That was terrifying. It took me, so that was January last year. So I think I've only been able to kick full power again for 4 months now, I think.
Right.
Because it was that bad.
Are you wanting to compete, or do you not think you'll be able to do that now?
Yeah, I'm going to be able to. I was supposed to. What month is it now? Are we in May? Are we in May?
Is it still March, or did we do April? I think we've done April, haven't we?
Yeah,
we're
done
probably May.
April, right? So I think we're in May.
Yeah, we're in May.
So I was supposed to. There were 2 fights that I was going to sign up for in April, but obviously all this happened, so all fights got cancelled. So. And I've not been in best of shape in COVID, so I'm going to have to try and get back on.
You feel like your body was ready to fight in April?
Yeah, and that was plan. We're going to do. We're going to have a Muay Thai fight and a Jiu-Jitsu fight, like this tournament, and I think it would be held in France or something. But once all this is dropped, get back to it and have a couple of scraps.
Yeah. Well, I need to book in for my my 7th line in August. Depending on,
that's come around fast.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember what we did that last one with, what else I was getting done at the time. But yeah, we need to do some more on that, and then we'll do my 7th line again. Obviously, depending.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to go back. A lot of tattoos are speculating that it's going to be like 10th of August that we're allowed back.
Oh, really? Where they're getting that number from, though?
I don't know, so I'm not really
process behind it.
I think they're just sort of going off. It might be like going off what other countries have done or something. But I think Bojo's doing a talk today, and so something's going to be said there. So I think tattooing should be allowed. I was
going to ask you what your opinion on that would be, because if you were sat in a mask with the person in a mask, as long as you sort of, I don't know what you call it, like the proper like 99% spray, the antibacterial stuff. If you did that to all, like from your elbow down and whatever area you're doing on them.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like tattooing, we're trained in cross-contaminating stuff like that. Like apart from like, you've got like hospitals, doctors, surgeries, dentists, stuff like that. After that, tattoo shops are like the next one,
right?
If not on par. And we wear gloves, we can be wearing the masks. Everything's wrapped, everything's disposable. It gets thrown away, and if it's not disposable, it's autoclaved. We've got to have one of them by law. So
right.
we could literally like tattoo someone who's got every bloodborne disease going, and that will either be discarded or sterilised to a point where it's fit to work again. So I think, I know that this is like it's not bloodborne, it's COVID, but it is through like respiratory situations. But if we had masks and had strict rules, our studio's private anyway, like you don't just get people just walking in unless they're coming to book in. But I think they should be able to wear masks. They've had no symptoms for a few weeks, check the temperature on way in, and then it should be fine, I think. But again, a lot of it's other people spoiling it.
Yeah.
So like a tattooist might, because I think there's been quite a few tattooists working on the sly just to get a bit of money, and it's people like that ruin it. So if they said, tattooists can, there'll be some that'll be like, oh, flash day, everyone come down, it's cheap, and then there'll be 20 people in shop.
Yeah, this is it. There's people who are doing sort of TV, like maybe, I don't know if they do it in England, but in America, if they're doing sort of like chat shows. Like if you look at Phil and Holly, they arrive at work and they keep them 2 meters apart wherever they're on camera. You don't know what they're doing, like in the green room or whatever happens off camera, but while they're on camera, everyone's 2 meters apart. I don't know if you can have the same with sort of sound and cameramen, don't they need to be pretty close together and stuff? But there's studios in America where they're still bringing people in for interviews and stuff, but they're testing on the door as they arrive, and then they decide whether they let them in or not.
Yeah, well, they should be doing, and I think a lot of stuff should be able, like, realistically should go back, but it's, yeah, like I said, people ruining it for everyone else.
Yeah,
and it's like in the hospitals and stuff, they're not managing to keep the 2 meters on. They're looking after people anyway, but I think certain stuff like bars, concert venues, yeah, that's going to be one at last, because that's just cross contamination all over, and you can't get that close to each other and stuff. So I understand stuff like that, but I think like small cafes, if they're limited to seating or stuff like that, and
if you removed every other table in a cafe,
and then like the staff wearing masks and everything be cleaned down, because like food you're allowed, stuff like that. And I think if everyone's honest about like whether they've had symptoms and stuff like that, then in theory, but also I'm not a scientist, but I think some stuff should be allowed to open, and tattoo shops, nail places, I think hairdressers as well should be allowed. Like my barber, before he got forced to shut, they were all wearing masks and wearing gloves. And they have to legally use that barbicide stuff, and they have stuff that gets sterilised and stuff like that. So I think stuff like that should be lifted, but there's people having street parties and stuff that's spoiling it, innit?
Yeah, well, we'll have to see what he says today. Genuinely, that's one of the jobs I would hate. There's a local councillor, and a couple of years ago we did some work together, and he was like, "Have you ever thought about coming into politics?" And I was just like, "No," because let's say I'm an elected member and I'm sort of for the Beeston ward, and I'm up in Beeston doing something in a primary school or planting trees or whatever it is, and then someone's messaging me saying, "Oh, we've got so-and-so wrong with our wheelie bins." It's like, do you think I give a shit about your wheelie bins? Seriously, on the big grand scheme of things, do you think your wheelie bins are really high up on my list? I was like, I'm not really sort of politically correct enough to sort of care about pointless shit.
Yeah, I won't be able to do it. Thing is, as well, one thing, like I'm not a Tory like at all, but I think, especially at the start, I thought Boris did quite well and his team and stuff. But people also need to remember that, like, every time he says something, everyone goes, "Oh, like that came from Boris." Like, there's loads of people behind the scenes writing his stuff for him. One of my mates works for the government, and he like writes stuff for MPs to be saying. Yeah. And so like, you can't just completely slam him, and we weren't ready for this. Like, yeah, arguably, well, definitely we should have had a lockdown a lot sooner and be a lot stricter, but the stuff that he's coming out with is trying to do something. But it's again that thing of, especially like that job, you're not going to be able to please everyone.
Yeah,
it will never work.
I was going to ask you this, but like, his decision affects the whole of the country, like not his team. So he announces something, and then the whole of the country is affected by that. One of the things I was going to ask you about tattooing is, does it ever put you off or make you nervous thinking that you're permanently, your finished product is permanent? Like doing like an eraser where you can rub a line out that's gone a little bit wrong and then redo it like a sketch drawing.
Right.
Do you ever think like that? Like this is forever, or do you just get to a point where you're doing that well that it's going to be good and you don't have to worry about that?
Yeah, I definitely used to feel like that, but now it's very much like it's my job, and I've sort of, I've got a reputation. I've got people that come back. Some people say I'm crap, but I've got a bunch of people that are, that have been following me for years and getting tattooed by me. So I think as long as I've got complete trust in someone, then I've got complete trust in myself.
Yeah.
So stuff like that don't really bother me anymore. Definitely used to.
Brilliant.
But and the thing is with stuff, because sometimes stuff does go wrong because people will move or something. I remember doing a line on a guy on his arm, and he wanted to get a better look at it. So while the needle was in the arm, he pulled his skin over. So like imagine just slowly drawing a line on a piece of paper and someone just moving it. So like I was doing this line and then it just went across, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And they were like, "Why'd you do that?" And I'm like, "What are you on about?" I was like, "You've just moved your skin that I was holding a needle in." You know, like, "Oh, can you fix it?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, luckily I can." And like you ended up, you wouldn't have been able to see where it went wrong. But the only other problem is people will say that it's the tattooist's fault. Like, I've had people like jump and then like something might have changed how it was originally planned, and then it's been like, "Oh, you did that." It's like, "No, I didn't." That gets annoying.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, it's been really good talking to you. If we do something in a studio, genuinely, I think it'd be good to sort of get you involved in some way. I was going to suggest upstairs in Rachel's empty bit, but she's using it now, isn't she? Is that a tanning studio now next door to you?
So there's the piercing bit, and then the other bit we're going to be used for storage for the
What are they called?
sewing woman.
Oh, right. I thought that was
That other room
composers.
for the orchestra.
Yeah,
But,
Otley's a bit far out. We're going to look at some equipment so that we can be mobile and go to different places and sort of do some different stuff.
all you need is the mics, and then just get a backdrop sheet. Have you ever watched Hot Ones? So it's a guy who he interviews celebrities, but as he interviews them, they eat hot wings that get hotter as it goes through.
Oh yeah.
But what they'll do is, because obviously they can't get celebrities to just keep going to them, so they literally just have a massive black sheet and just a table and 2 chairs, and that's it. So they can pop it up anywhere.
Yeah.
So if you just get a massive backdrop sheet, then it'll look like you're in the same place.
The only other thing is I only have a motorbike, so everything's got to fit in one rucksack.
You might have to get a trailer. Get a trailer for the bike.
Yeah, we'll have to sort something out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, the way that your mind works. Like I said, there's only a few people I know. They all seem to be really creative, where they process information quick enough to be able to keep up with a conversation about anything. Like there's so many people I talk to, and they'll sort of say, "Oh, remember when you was on about thingy a few minutes ago?" And it's like they've just caught up and thought, "Oh, I need to ask that."
Yeah.
I mean, so it'd be good to get a few people together who are sort of fast. So
I'm quite impressed with myself, to be honest. I thought we were going to be constantly going.
I'm going to watch it back and do an count. That should be a table that we do, like an table, and each one you get a little score and see who does it the most.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I think my mate's having a look at that little jingle as well for you.
Yeah, so a lot of people have said that they like the. So that's literally just me singing into a voice changer and then choosing the squirrel. And then I realised that it's 2 completely different Craig David songs. Because it's
right, I couldn't even work out what it was, to be honest.
So
I didn't even know.
There's the "Can you fill me in?"
Yeah.
And after that, it says "Let's talk about it." But before that, the that's from that Artful Dodger.
Yeah, man,
So it's 2. Yeah. So it's 2. I didn't even know, because when I looked it up on YouTube, I was like, "Oh, that's a completely different song." So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy if someone can make something proper. But like I say, I was just dead impatient, and I just wanted it out there. So
Yeah, no, I do stuff like that with projects.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's going to have a little plink with it tonight. So if it sends me, I'll send it through.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And it's
no problem. Cheers for having me.
Cross for you getting open again soon.
Hopefully good when I get back.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, I'll see you soon.
Nice one, pal. In a bit.